This is the year that we are going to be very particular about how we spend our money. Before I dive into the video, I wanted to address the elephant in the room, potentially. If you are in the US, you've probably already know all of the changes that are happening, and if you are feeling frustrated and exhausted or just simply in survival mode, I want you to know that I am here with you. I don't really address these things often in my videos because for a while I've always wanted my channel to be a place that you can escape to, you can find comfort in without feeling overly stressed, without having to worry about the world around you. But I think at this point there are a lot of my viewers who are being impacted, who are just trying to figure out what the next day, month, year is going to look like. And I also want to make sure that the viewers and the community I'm building is a place for people who have compassion and who have empathy for human beings. And if you are someone who has hate in your heart, who has anger, this is not the place for it. And I don't share a lot about my personal life because anything you put out there, you have to be ready for people to judge and ridicule. So to bring up more serious topics is always scary. To share my personal life on the internet is always scary because the internet is cruel. And it's not just the internet that's cruel, it's a reflection of what people actually think, what people actually believe, what people are actually feeling, and a lot of that is very hateful. With all of that being said, I know a lot of you are fairly new to my channel, so I do want to share a bit of a background about who I am and where I come from. So a lot of you already know that I am Asian American. Specifically, I am Cambodian. I was born and raised in the US, and if it wasn't for immigrants, I would not be here today, sitting here, talking to you. And I want you to know that I see you, I hear you, and I feel for you. If you are in survival mode, take the time that you need. In the meantime, for those of you who need a form of comfort, I will continue making videos. And for people who are in my space, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to help. I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. All I can really say is to be there for your community, your friends, your family, reshare resources that could be helpful. Be vocal when you need to be vocal. I don't have the platform to change the world. You might not have the platform to change the world, but what you do have is a voice to talk to the people that are closest to you. If you feel paralyzed, not knowing what to do and how to do it, start small. For me, there are a lot of changes I'm in the process of currently trying to make. Again, these are all personal changes, so I'm not really open to sharing all of that right now, and I will eventually share those things as time goes on. But one thing I do know how to do is talk through it and show you how I am personally moving forward, and one of those ways is in shopping less, but also being very strategic about how I'm being influenced to shop. I don't think the title is entirely accurate because I don't believe or think it's possible to cut out every piece of influence in your life. I think cutting out influence altogether actually cuts out the opportunity for growth in the right places. So instead of telling you to cut out every single piece of influence in your life, I am going to share with you some tips on what to cut out, but then how to redirect your money and your influence to something that is actually going to be valuable and more beneficial for you. That felt really good to get off of my chest. I'm not gonna lie. I've been holding it in for quite a while, so I can bring back the brush mic. The first thing that I would recommend doing before you start this journey of shopping more strategically, shopping more consciously, is to understand your triggers when it comes to shopping. I think it is very, very difficult to have this goal of shopping less or shopping more strategically if you don't know what triggers you to shop. A lot of brands, a lot of businesses, including influencers, and even the people around you will influence you to shop and buy things through your mental, through your mind, through your emotions. As someone who has worked in social media marketing and as someone who has worked directly with brands as a content creator, a common tactic is usually tapping into the emotions that you feel. For example, your insecurities, your comparison, your fear of missing out, your boredom, your stress, tapping into how you feel to sell a product. So if there is a certain emotion that triggers you to shop often, that is something that you want to keep in your mind so that you can actually make positive habits and positive changes in the future. Now, the way that I would recommend to track your triggers is to give yourself a week to even a month before making any changes to kind of watch your behavior, or maybe allow someone else to start observing your shopping behaviors and jotting down when you tend to shop often. You gotta do some research on yourself. You are the subject of this research paper, okay? So right before you decide to go to TJ Maxx, or right before you decide to open the Sephora app or the Ulta app, write down what you're feeling before you actually shop. Right before you open that Sephora app, what are you feeling? Are you feeling bored, stressed, tired, looking for something to do? And you're usually going to see a common pattern of when you often shop. Now, if you're someone who isn't really conscious of when you shop and you always kind of forget to jot things down, another tactic you can use is by looking into your bank account and finding common patterns. Are you spending your money on Fridays right after work? Are you spending your money on the weekend because you don't have anything else to do? Are you spending your money often during your lunch break? Where and when are you spending your money? Check your bank statements and find those common patterns and jot those things down. Once you recognize, okay, this is where my problems are, this is where my triggers are, then you can actually figure out what solutions are going to help you in a way that is going to have long-lasting change in your life. All right, now that we know what we are influenced by, what our shopping triggers are, and why we actually want to shop less, the next step is to actually do something about it and cut out the things that are influencing us to shop. If one of the ways that you are influenced to shop is heavily through social media, then I would recommend doing a social media detox. Start unfollowing influencers and content creators and or friends or family that is constantly posting products for you to buy. There is nothing wrong with the fact that content creators and influencers have brand deals or are trying to make money. And it would be pretty hypocritical to say that because I am a content creator. But if their sole purpose, if their sole account is just to make content to sell you something, rather than sharing any other valuable information towards your life, then I would highly recommend unfollowing them. Some common videos that you could try to avoid and unfollow are like really big PR unboxings, first impression videos, haul videos. Those are videos that tend to trigger you to want to shop. But then there are times where you might just see someone who you admire, you think is beautiful, and you love their makeup and their beauty, and every time they put something on their face, it might influence you to buy something. And even though they're not really pushing that product onto you, that might impact and trigger you to buy something unintentionally. So limit your exposure and redirect your energy to content creators, influencers, friends, and family members that focus more on sharing content related to ideas, education, creativity, and experiences in their life. Again, people need to make their coin, so not saying that these people will never have a brand deal, but it will be easier to ignore the brands or the advertisements they have on their profile if a majority of their videos are actually valuable to you, if their videos are actually helpful for you. And also try to follow creators and influencers that show that they value you more than brands themselves. And for me personally, I realized that I wasn't following enough Asian creators, and it's not because they don't exist. There's a lot of Asian creators on here. It was mainly because I just wasn't seeking them out often enough, and I wasn't going out of my way to like, subscribe, follow, comment, or engage with them. But the second I took the time to do that, my algorithm shifted from being a bunch of creators who sold products to creators that actually looked like me, had the same belief system as me, grew up in the same way that I did, and actually are sharing valuable pieces of information that is helpful in my personal growth, but also is entertaining for me to watch in a positive way. And for those of you who are in the beauty community and you still really want to be involved in the beauty beauty community. And look out for the creators that are more focused on education of makeup, encouraging you to repurpose what you have, or inspiring you to be more creative with the makeup you already own. And I'm not saying that there isn't value in product review channels, but if you are really focused on being influenced less and shopping less, then that's kind of the creators you want to shift your focus to. And then when you are ready to buy a product, you can seek out those creators that are actually sharing helpful reviews for you. It's just about being very intentional and strategic about where your attention is going and when. Now let's say you're not as easily influenced on social media, but you still have these shopping triggers. One of the things that could be impacting you and your wallet is the influence of your community, your friends, your family, coworkers. These people can have just as much of an influence on you as social media influencers and creators. I am not telling you to cut these people out of your life, because at the end of the day, we can still be loving and caring and friendly to people that have different belief systems than us. But what I am saying is to be very cautious and mindful about who in your life is influencing you. It might be your best friend who is a complete shopaholic and loves to overconsume. I don't think it's necessary to try to change the person, but you might want to distance yourself from certain conversations around shopping, or if they only want to hang out to go to the mall, maybe you can suggest other activities that don't require shopping. And another way that you might be influenced to shop is through marketing and advertising messages. For me, I find it kind of easy to ignore these because I've worked in the industry. I know the tricks, but sometimes you don't even realize how you're being influenced by these messages. A lot of the times ads are constantly being shown because they want you to keep the brand top of mind, so that when you are ready to shop, you are aware of the brand, you're thinking about the brand, and you're ready to actually buy from the brand over other brands. With that being said, it is really difficult to escape advertising and marketing messages. They have their ways, okay? They have their ways on social media, they have their ways on TV, they have their ways on billboards and on your drive home from work and on the radio. It is almost inescapable, and you can't really control where and when you're being advertised to, but you can control your mindset around these advertisements and how you actually let them impact you. So one thing that you can do is actually unsubscribe from email advertisements or email lists, specifically email lists that are constantly pushing and reminding you about sales, reminding you about things that you put in your cart. And there's no point about these emails except the fact that they are selling you products to buy. Believe it or not, there are actually emails that are interesting to read, fun to read, if anything, beneficial to read. I have a couple of email lists that I'm subscribed to in digital marketing. Some creators have some email lists that I follow, and they are filled with just helpful information. I kind of read it like I'm reading a newspaper, and it keeps me up to date with the industry and ideas on how to further my career. So unsubscribe from the email lists that are trying to take your money and subscribe to the email lists that is interesting to read, fun to read. And bonus points if you're able to subscribe to email lists that are keeping you up to date with what's happening within your community. Whatever you are interested in that is not shopping related, I promise you there's probably an email list for it. Now, if you are someone who is very, very triggered by trends, it's time to shift how we see trends. Again, just like advertisements, just like marketing, trends are kind of hard to escape. I just made a video about trends, and my personal perspective is I feel like very different from a lot of people that commented on that video. I do see a benefit in trends. I do think that trends can be valuable if done correctly, but all in the same breath, I completely agree and understand that brands do come up with trends to get you to buy something, and trends can encourage over consumption. So with that in mind, my biggest advice if you are very much triggered by trends is to reframe your thinking about what trends actually are. So instead of seeing trends as a way for you to keep up, or something that makes you feel like you're missing out, or something that makes you feel worse about yourself, you can use trends as a way to re-inspire you to bring life back to what you already love and own. This includes clothing, makeup, any hobbies that you might have. Use trends as a way to find new ways to repurpose what you love and already own. A good example of this was a recent video that I did trying to recreate the icy nude palette sugar plum fairy viral makeup look, but instead of buying the Huda Beauty palette, I just used what I already own. And it really gave me a new outlook on the products that I had, but it also was fun to try out to see if I really enjoyed the trend or not, especially when it comes to makeup. There's a million different ways you can recreate a look. Now, if you are an impulsive shopper and that is your biggest problem, I have some tips for you, because I am very proud to say that I'm not an impulsive shopper. I do shop fairly often, but I don't shop impulsively as often as I used to when I was younger. First of all, delete shopping apps. Just delete them. If you are fully trying to quit shopping or to shop less, don't make shopping easy for you, at least until you can kind of build that muscle to tell yourself no. Only allow yourself to shop if it's on a desktop. Do not window shop. As someone who loves to window shop, there are times where I regret it because it actually gives me the urge to buy things. So as much as you want to window shop, I don't recommend window shopping until, again, you have that built-in discipline to tell yourself no. And the last piece of advice for those of you who like to impulsively shop is to implement a waiting rule. Now, a lot of people recommend like the 24-hour waiting rule, the 2-day waiting rule, the 1-week waiting rule. Yo, that is not enough time to wait. It is not enough time, because in 24 hours, I will remember that product. And sometimes I still want the thing in a week. However, I have forced myself to wait a month before, and after a month is usually when I forget about it. So you can try implementing the 24-hour rule, the 1-week rule, but that's not always going to work for everyone. So the way that I personally implement the rating rule is by giving myself a reason to wait. Of course, you don't want to tell yourself, no, you cannot buy that, because sometimes that can backfire and it will make you want to buy it more. So I don't tell myself I can't buy it. I don't tell myself I'll never buy it. I tell myself, yes, you can buy this. You have the permission to buy this, but not until blank. So sometimes I'll tell myself, not until I reach this goal, not until it's on sale. And what happens is I just keep it in my cart and I wait for a time that is reasonable to buy it. And a lot of the times, by that point, the product gets on sale. I don't want it anymore. And sometimes I'm waiting 1 month. Sometimes I'm waiting 3 months. Sometimes I'm waiting 6 months. I usually do this a lot with any products from Sephora because I just don't think most of the products on Sephora is worth buying full price. So I'll force myself to wait until the 20% off sale, and that's why I still shop the 20% off sale. But a lot of the times, by the time the sale comes around, I'm like, I don't even want the same things anymore. I want something different. Give yourself a reason to wait that might push it off longer than you think. And again, that's really just tricking your brain because you're telling yourself, yeah, I can buy it, but not right now. Not right now. And another way you can think of it is, yes, I can buy it once I finish this. Yes, I can buy it once I finish the lipstick that I own. It takes a long time to finish a damn lipstick, so by that point you probably forgot about it and moved on to the next thing. So those are just some examples on how you can change your habits so that you are less influenced to shop. Now that we've kind of made some rules for ourselves, cut things out of our lives that aren't serving us, it's time to redirect the energy. It's time to redirect the spending to something that actually brings value to our lives, to brands and creators that actually care about us. So if you are feeling stressed, you can replace that feeling with meditation, journaling, coloring. I've seen a lot of people incorporate that hobby in their life. Personally, I like to play my Nintendo Switch because it kind of puts me into another world and it prevents me from scrolling on my phone. If you tend to shop when you're bored, you can find more low cost or free hobbies that you can participate in. Again, be very careful with the hobby thing because I'm noticing this is becoming a trend and I'm big on hobbies. I really recommend it, but it can trick you into overspending again. So if you do participate in a new hobby, just be very mindful of how you're spending on that new hobby. But again, redirecting your money money in that area is more beneficial to your soul than shopping for clothes and beauty. And then I wrote a list of how I am personally going to shift away from this shopping mindset more strictly this year. If you watch my channel, you know that I've been pretty balanced in the way that I shop, but this year I am definitely going to be a lot stricter on myself just because of everything that's happening right now, and also for the sake of my finances because I am getting older. So personally, instead of being influenced to shop, I am allowing myself to be influenced to invest more in my knowledge and my education, reading books, looking into online classes. You could also be influenced to build financial independence. I feel like this is kind of self-explanatory for everyone. Just being in a really good financial spot where you have money for retirement, where you have an emergency fund just in case anything happens. Money makes the world go around, unfortunately, and if there's anything I learned about money as I've grown older is that it really gives you freedom in life. That is your power, is your finances. So instead of being, influenced to shop and buy things, be influenced to improve your finances. Another thing that I really want to focus on this year, I've been awful at it, like truly awful at it, but prioritizing community and experiences. I am building a community online and I plan to continue building this community online, but I've been terrible at building community in my personal life, like awful. And I think a lot of it comes from just the way that I was raised. I was basically raised to fend for myself and to be independently thinking, but sometimes also you need a community to build with. So I am seeking out community this year. I have no answers or advice because that's something I am definitely working on. And the last way that you can shift your influences is to be very particular about the types of businesses and brands you're supporting. Now, again, I do not believe in brand loyalty. I do not think that you should be loyal to any single brand because even the brands that look the most ethical, look the best, sometimes can be performative, sometimes there are things behind the scenes you don't know about. So I don't believe in brand loyalty, but if you are going to spend money on things, you can be more conscious about where you spend your money, how you spend your money, do research on the brand, and to the best of your ability, shop brands and businesses that actually value you. And then I also wanted to warn you not to fall for the advice that encourages you to get rid of things you already own to replace things with something better. If there is a brand that you no longer support, keep using what you have. You don't have to be vocal about it. You don't have to support it or promote it, but just use what you already have and then just wait to replace it when it's necessary. In the end, I think that being influenced is a normal human experience. We are always going to be inspired. It's how we build community. It's how we come together as people. Being inspired and influenced by each other can also be a very good thing. But when it comes to shopping specifically, we can definitely take back the control of how we are being influenced. You are the person that gets to decide what you value and how you spend your money. This is just personally how I am navigating the new year. If you are someone who is based in the US or even if you're outside of the US, I just want all of you to know that I am here and I'm going through it too, truthfully. So we're in this together and we're gonna figure it out. And I think that the best thing we can do is stay hopeful and be kind to one another.